This real-side experience would begin with me in the company of a large, black-scaled dragon. The dragon would be a body form where the secondary, personal, created self had been established. For as the real awareness inserts itself initially into the mechanics that provide a simulation as comparative is recognizing experience, animating through the various animal, insect, etc. body types. Although the body types are effected from a consciousness, a certain programming which dictates the body form behavior and traits in accordance with the species it happens to be, the real awareness is maintaining its nowness, everything a true reality state, though the simulated viewers of creational experience are available to it. For recognition of the is to be so a secondary self becomes established, as a moment will come where a particular body type assumed will have the additional mechanism of free will. Free will is the choice to consciously activate the idea-generating facilities of the various multi-dimensional bodies. In that, as this takes place, so there is a shift from the nowness, isness, everything of the real awareness to the immersion into the isolated effects as generated via the activation of the mental and emotional vehicles. Free will, then, is this generating of ideas, which brings forth then the secondary self, the personal self, and where we cease idea activation, when we stop utilizing the free will, we return to the nowness of our real awareness, true being states. This then is the overall comparison, the personal self, and the ideas generated through all body vehicle mechanics, and the real awareness nowness position. Isolated pieces and parts as a means of recognizing the everything reality, the isness that the real awareness is a part of. The body forms that are those where the secondary personal self is established, where free will wielding is granted, vary considerably, generally taking on a bipedal form, but not necessarily. As a form, on the real side as an example, can be more a reflection of the consciousness of the individual. Many dark force reptilians, as they continue with their ill-intended and abrasive inclinations and actions, may well present forms that look far more animalistic, such as snakes and crocodiles, representing rather a regression as they continue to compound their consciousness with a distortion of idea and agreement. As I said, I would be in the presence of a dragon, a very animal-like body form, but where the secondary self was very much established, and a secondary self, the being whose dragon form it was immersed and locked into, mired in the illusions of its own creations, attitudes, and self-serving, personal thrill-seeking intents. For this dragon was of an ill-intended persuasion. The extent of his affiliation with the dark forces and their simulator control structures wasn't made apparent, but very likely he would be interconnected or associated with the dark forces in some fashion. He would be flying through a rugged, mountainous terrain, elevated with his mighty wings, and although it would have appeared, being in my usual human form, that I lacked the physical body capability to take to the air, I was flying along beside him. On the real side, we are somewhat limitless. The real awareness affording its simulated, created selves whatever is required for every situation, assuming the personal self holds to no agreements which restrict the real awareness, for if an idea restriction clung to is one which prohibits the real awareness from being able to elevate the simulated body forms, to afford them the ability to fly, then this will be the case. It seemed the dragon and I were on sociable terms, and I would learn that he was a part of a dark force, black magic orientated order, one that had been created and maintained by a powerful, demonic, godlike being, who assumed then the top spot of this black magic sect. This was just one of many black magic circles operating throughout creation, very likely interconnecting with others also, as this is one of the fundamental control and subjugation mechanisms in this particular creational realm, that of the use of the psychic sciences to adversely impact others and assist in ensuring the overall dark force reptilian control. Exactly who this demon god wasn't made apparent, but clearly a being where through agreement was he in the position of what would be construed as godlike, where really, with everything creational based on agreement, only if individuals agree to the power of another over them is this then the simulated reality shared between them, and with such godlike beings, that they have such vast positions of power and extreme influence over multitudes of beings, is simply the vast agreement surrendered to them that this be so. The greater positions of power desired, the greater is the agreement required to effect such to be. The dragon would inform me that many beings throughout creation were a part of the particular black magic order that he was a member of, including many humans from the earth, specifically those that operate in the more highly placed controlling dark force reptilian societal circles, such as movie stars, celebrities, and so forth. He would go on to say that when joining the black magic order, it is by special invite only. A certain standing within dark force circles is a prerequisite, or perhaps that the individual has certain abilities and developed psychic science skills that would be an asset to the order. But ultimately, the demon god would decide as to who became a member and who would be denied. Additionally, the demon god would bestow special ability upon the few he deemed as especially gifted or exceptional, and they then would assume a more highly placed position within the ranks of the order. The dragon was proud to announce that he was one such a being, that had bestowed upon him the demon god's blessing and power. Seems then my reason for being in his presence was that he was keen to have me recruited into this dark magic order, that he recognized that I had a certain potentiality where the psychic science magics are concerned, and he suggested the demon god might even grant me the additional power that only a very few ever receive, such as himself. At this moment, were I to have turned down this offer, the experience would have ended there. But what is more prudent is to go along with the experience and see where it may lead, as every interaction, regardless of its nature, is an opportunity to bring others around to the true reality and share the new you song, etc. And besides, regardless of how mired in the effects we become through the agreements we take on as we choose to go forth with situations such as this, as it is agreement which affects our experiences, so no situation is beyond our ability to be extricated from, and assuming the personal self sits back and allows the reins of the experience to be in the hands of the real awareness, then the real awareness takes the personal self through various scenarios. Not all may be pleasant, for the comparison views such afford, and also for the new you and his reference sharing opportunity they provide. And when it's a time for extraction, where such makes sense or is prudent, so the necessary agreements affecting the simulated circumstances are released, and the created forms being utilized by the real awareness are removed. As such, I would agree with the dragon that I would like to proceed with this offer to see where it may lead, and always with the knowing that I could be pulled from the situations at any moment, that we always are okay, as after all the real awareness that we are can't be in any way harmed, as it is a reality besides where effects can be experienced. The dragon would be suddenly confronted by a selection of other airborne creatures that, like him, were possessing of and immersed with their personal created selves. They seemed also to represent what was a magical order that chose to stand in opposition of the black magic sect the dragon was a part of. Possibly then they identified as white magicians. The dragon would display and demonstrate the power of his demon god provided magics, and destroy the white magic creatures with little effort. Again, a situation as chosen and decided between these creatures and the dragon, the outcome determined by the agreements in relation to each other as to who can destroy whom, etc. The dragon would escort me to another location, a large ominous-looking building, and there he would depart. For it was here that the potentials, those desiring to be accepted into the Dark Order, would initially congregate. As I stood among them, so the majority of those wishing to be recruited were various human celebrities, actors, famous musicians, and TV personalities, etc., as the dragon told me would be the case, as such highly placed society individuals will operate within the various black magic satanic circles, etc., including this particular one. Among those awaiting recruitment were a scattering of other famous humans who already were members, and one in particular would approach me. He was a well-renowned and successful player of darts from the UK, and he would inform me that once you joined a dark order such as this, you could never leave. And were you to attempt to do so, not only your life would be forfeit, but that of your family, friends, etc. He would tell me that many celebrities have so-called accidents and suicides due to they leaving the dark black magic circle, or that their family are threatened and destroyed, etc., as a ploy to draw the celebrities back in. At that moment, a large truck would be backing up into the building we all were in, and as the back opened up, the truck pulling to a stop, so was revealed a group of very sinister, bipedal, beast-like creatures, all dressed in black robes, with ceremonial masks placed upon their distorted, monstrous faces. They would proceed to execute some kind of ritual or other, waving their clawed hands around dramatically, burning sticks of incense, and babbling incoherent nonsense words. When this oddity was complete, so they would disperse among the watching crowd and myself, identifying those who already were members, and for the potential recruits would they be provided as though a special laminated card. This was as though required for the next step, for up until this point, and even with this card in hand, individuals could choose to walk away. The next stage was to proceed to another location, the cards as though representing a pass of acceptance, and where the potential recruits would gather atop a small mountain. As what was erected on the top of the mountain would be a kind of stone circle, where the demon god, the creator of this black magic sect, would manifest. At that point there would be no turning back, and to even try would have the individual destroyed at the hands of the god being. On the mountain the celebrities would be selected, some would be turned down and dismissed according to the demon god's decisions, and occasionally would the demon determine that a recruit had a special gift or ability that made him or her worthy of the additional power the demon god would then bestow upon them. It seemed my real awareness was not deciding to put the simulated self through the actual selection process on the mountain, but instead I found myself relocated elsewhere. As I said earlier, the various rich and famous, on joining a black magic order such as this, do occasionally regret such a choice, for whatever reasons they may have, and even though they are aware that once selected, to leave brings the penalty of death, some still do. And where I was located now seemed to be a position in creation, a swampy, forbidding region, where some of the celebrities who indeed had stepped back from the order had a tendency to go, for it seemed another small group of magic wielders were providing a service for the celebrities who indeed left the order but were now in mortal danger. This magic group were not Dark Force affiliated, their intentions seemed benign. They had developed their own psychic power ability through their consciousnesses, and simply chose this as the way by which they utilized it, in an assisting of others capacity, including celebrities on the run, as it were, even though very likely the celebrities would remain within the Dark Force control networks in some shape or form. For it was as though the particular nature of the agreement to the power of the demon god included its ability to destroy them at any moment, like a little addition to the contract, that like any agreement, once installed consciousness-wise, then the effects can always be potentially at any moment experienced. In essence, the Black Magic Order members had agreed that the demon god could destroy them if it so chose, as a part of the membership package. A conscious agreement then, and lifetimes from now this agreement will still stand, though it will be then subconsciously placed, and even though the individuals are unconscious of it, maintained is the potentiality of the effect being experienced, that of this demon god eliminating them. And we see how these agreements can be established, forgotten over lifetimes, and then we puzzle over how a being has the ability to eliminate us. For as everything is based on agreement, why would I agree that such a demon god could do this, etc.? Agreement to this god demon's power could have been established by these celebrities lifetimes ago in fact, or why would such circumstances as the opportunity to reacquaint and be under the same being's power again manifest as their current experience? And so, possibly then, already are agreements secured where the demon can destroy them, and this recruiting into the demon's magic order would then reinforce and cement this agreement more so. What the magical group in the swamp region were doing then was putting the celebrity escapees through an elaborate ritual of their own, involving a complex series of hand gestures, body movements, etc. The purpose of this was to in fact protect the celebrities from the demon god's power. My impressions were that this was an effective technique, and so along the lines of the agreement being removed or altered or transferred in some way, that renders the idea of the demon being able to destroy them absent from their consciousnesses, and as such this cannot be their experience. For I have encountered many beings with the ability to make such alterations to a consciousness as though they can alter the idea files or erase them. Realistically, only we can hold to and release ideas as the deciders of our experience, but we can also decide that others can assist with certain situations, or rather the agreements that effect them. And in a cause and effect creation, anything is possible. It's a case simply of idea installation to effected outcome, and if it has been decided that a certain ritual is required to remove a certain agreement in regards to the ability of others to destroy us, then this will be our experience. In reality, we could have decided that picking one's nose releases the agreement, as the essence of the situation is agreement removing. What we decide needs be done in addition to it really doesn't matter or have any bearing unless we think and agree that it does, and then that is our simulated experience. And so, not only was this a series of actions, gestures and motions agreed to as the mechanism of removing demon god destruction of one's self-agreement, but additionally was that should the ritual not be completed, the individual would die also. Again, just a bunch of decided ideas that if agreed and a consciousness installed, that then is the affected experience. I wasn't participating in the ritual, as I wasn't a fleeing former Black Magic Order recruit, and even were I so, I would simply determine and release the agreement that would have me beyond the demon god's ability to cause me harm. Instead, I was present as this provided an opportunity, that of sharing the ears. For most of these celebrities were going through with the ritual as dictated by the magical group, as they wanted to be safe from the demon god, but some of them were then concerned as to what the future may hold. For as I said, celebrities, actors, the rich and famous can extricate themselves from such predicaments as this example revealed, but generally they would be reluctant to fully release their positions and standing within the dark forces that afford them their more luxurious lifestyles, etc., and very likely stepping back from the satanic dark force magic groups, if they were allowed to live or find a means of doing so, would have them fall out of favour with the dark force reptilians. And how often do we see the top blockbuster movie actors curiously fall suddenly from grace, their careers in tatters? And so, for some of the celebrities in the swamp, death was actually a preference than to sink into obscurity, the fame lost, and their fortunes and lavish lifestyles no more. And so, although they wanted extrication from the Black Magic Order, they would rather die than become an irrelevance within Earth's upper-class societies. But seems death at the hands of the demon god wasn't especially attractive a prospect, and so a few here would decide not to complete the agreement-releasing ritual, which afforded them an instant and a painless body-form death. I would manage to glean the attention of a few actors, and not only advised them to complete the ritual as opposed to a senseless death, but additionally provided them with an alternative, the real cure, the NuFriends connection to the true reality, and the opportunity of recognizing their real awareness and the years it is a part of. As such would involve the process of effacing the created consciousness and releasing all agreements and attachments contained therein, including those as extended to the demon god. As I said earlier, we proceed with these experiences. As always, there is opportunity to present the true reality and the new sound connection to it. For a particular actor would be keen to try the new you for himself. Tired was he with the stress of his position. A glamorous actor in the one-dimensional eyes of the masses, but locked into a merciless, cutthroat dark force control system behind the surface front. And he was also enthusiastic about sharing the new you sound among other celebrities and famous individuals, very likely received most readily from especially those weary of their lives and seeking to extricate themselves from what they were involved with, such as the dark black magic circles many, if not all, famous people will operate or be embroiled within. The scene would switch. I was now aboard what seemed to be a bus. Accompanying me would be various passengers, all of the stepping up and becoming more aware persuasion. My impressions were that the aware individuals and myself had been or were embarking on various assignments and chosen experiences where opportunity to share the new sound could be so, and this bus served as a kind of means of intergalactic real-side transport. That although transportation isn't necessary on the real side, the utilizing of such does stick better in the mind, and the experiences more likely recalled on waking. At the wheel would be what impressions revealed was a real guide, and so it was, as though he was picking up and dropping off various new friends at the locations where their objectives or assignments were to be carried out, or where they had been completed. And now we were transported as though through various dimensions of stars and dazzling space scenery, the bus dropping me off at a final destination. For as I said, the celebrities, if choosing to walk away from the black magic order, would attempt various methods by which this could be so, including the curious ritual as facilitated by the magical group of beings in the swamp. Some celebrities, however, either were unaware of that option or chose not to participate in it, but rather take their chances to remove themselves from the order, but due to the agreement contract that bound them always to the potential effect of being destroyed at the hands of the demon god whose order it was, so they would be constantly on the run and in fear of their lives. And then one day we may hear on the news how a certain actor suddenly was found as having hung himself, even though he showed no indication of being suicidal, etc. For now I would be operating from an aside from creation, real awareness position, no longer inserted as a simulated form into the experience. And as I watched, I would see a selection of celebrities who had left the order, but had not undergone the agreement releasing ritual or any other means of assuring their survival, and they were running through the scene that would be a street setting. It became quickly apparent what they were running from, as now entering the street and in pursuit of the celebrities would be a colossal giant, loosely resembling a human, but with protruding horns from his body, scaled skin, etc., and impressions revealed this was the very demon god that was the creator and overlord of this particular black magic order. Just as the agreement dictated, he now was able and willing to personally carry out the elimination of the celebrities, those that had backed out from the order. As a consciousness agreement dictates the ability and extent by which others can harm or destroy us, if at all, agreement also determines the assistance others can afford. We each design our movie sets and assign the roles that others can choose to assume, and the parameters by which they can operate. All our attackers, destroyers, rescuers, and assistance providers can only be so through the ideas in our consciousness that effect the available roles and the limits and restrictions placed upon them in regards to ourselves. And so we may want to assist others, but unless the agreement ideas are present in their consciousness where we can do so, then there is little we can do as they experience the effects of themselves, as the monsters maul them, or giant demon gods chase them down and destroy them. And so most of the fleeing, terrified celebrities were beyond my ability to assist. They had not extended agreement that I could assume the role of their rescuer, etc. However, a few had, but only within certain strict parameters that allowed that all I could do was conceal them. For as I stood as my real awareness true being self, I as though reached into the simulated situation I was witnessing with giant arms and hands, and would pick up the diminutive, in comparison to my hands, celebrities, those that I could assist this was, and as though tuck them away out of sight in whatever places throughout the street that they wouldn't be apparent to the giant demon god. Maybe not a final solution, as they still were in a danger through agreements that allowed that the demon still could destroy them, but I as though provided them a little more time, as my impressions were that just with the celebrities participating in the agreement releasing ritual, these were still others seeking to extricate themselves from the dark force circles, and more apt to be receptive to the opportunity of becoming real, and letting the personal self and the endless drama and agitation of creation go, and affording them then perhaps the time needed to get going with their own awareness journeys, a greater protection provided through the agreement releasing process, etc., that they evade death at the hands of the demon god, but even should they still be destroyed, there is recognizing journeys had begun, and would only stop if they decided. As I said, this whole experience then provided the opportunity to share the new you sound with still further beings in creation, that had I refused the dragon's initial offer, the experience would not have proceeded beyond that point, and I wouldn't have engaged with all the celebrities that I did.
That was a long one, Kevin. Yes, thank you very much. That was excellent. So much information. Yes. It's a lot to dissect, and with this huge journey as references to learn to see what's real. And also, good thing here, Kevin, is that if Mexico gets too funny and hard for you, you have more job options and proposals. You see? So again, they like you, Kevin. So again, you got many things to consider. Yes, thank you, Kevin.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dwayne.
Very good.